Let's bring in more reaction now. Bring in Loop Ventures founder Gene Munster, who's been listening to our dialogue. And Gene, we remind our viewers that Uber's original name was Uber Taxi. I mean, ultimately, they're talking about maybe going back to a taxi-style model if that California law stuck, at least in that state. Is that a business worth $55 billion?
No, both of these companies, Brian, are in a tight spot. And yes, there was a reprieve today. This topic is not over, obviously, with this vote coming November 3rd and California's some of their influence that they can have on other states. And kind of you put all of this together and think about if these changes to employees across the country call it a 15% increase, which is effectively their profit margins. And I do want to caution the voters of California and also some of the lawmakers. Do not want to politicize any of this, but one aspect, what would the drivers want? Most of these drivers use both apps, both Lyft and Uber. And if they are employees, they will be likely restricted from jumping from app to app. That would likely cut down at some of their rides, maybe cut down at what they would be paid on an hourly basis, perhaps. So I don't think that the right path here is as clear for the drivers as simply to become an employee.
Yeah.
A second major factor here.
Let me jump in here, Gene, because to Karen's point, she talked about a hybrid model. Listen, Derek Khosrowshahi, that team, they're smart people. Okay, they've got a lot of technology. To Steve's point, is there some kind of model that maybe we or the market has not thought of yet based on what they have, that even if the California law stuck, which is, by the way, is 1/8 of the American economy, there's some idea of the business that we haven't just thought of yet, which they could prosper off of?
There is, and it's called autonomy, and that ultimately could create some forced adoption. If this model just simply doesn't work, you're going to see these companies push even harder into autonomous systems, simply eliminating the drivers. One of the unique things about Lyft and Uber, it's a two-sided marketplace. They have drivers and riders. In an autonomous world, you don't need riders, so that would leave Lyft and Uber. Essentially, their key asset is a brand around movement. I think that is an asset. I don't know if it's worth $55 billion, but what I really take away from this is the next few years are going to be ups and downs related to this regulation, related to how we're going to be exiting the pandemic. But longer term, we know where this is going, that cars should be autonomous for safety reasons and productivity reasons. And ultimately, Lyft and Uber's business over the next decade are going to be fully self-driving. And this topic that we're talking about today is going to be largely irrelevant.
Gene, we played a little Would You Rather before, and I hate to do the hypothetical, but just bear with me a second. Assuming the vote in November goes the way of Uber and Lyft, they're very different companies now for a lot of different reasons. Under that scenario, who stands to benefit more, Uber or Lyft?
So I'm in the Lyft camp, in part because I actually like their focus just on the U.S. I like their focus on the ride sharing. I think that the Eats business, while it's had a tremendous tailwind, I think that it gets progressively more competitive and they lose money, tougher to make money in that business. And so I appreciate you putting that caveat, assuming they get through this this current intersection that they're navigating. But ultimately, I think if I had my choice, I would put my money on Lyft. There's another X factor here. I think that there is something subtle about Lyft's culture. I think it's just more investor-friendly culture, and ultimately, I think that influences my view.
Gene, let me ask you something. So you talk about the potential for ultimately not even needing any drivers. Does that make you very bullish on the model for when that period comes to pass? Because that's a huge part of their cost.
So this gets there's some nuances to it. And as I mentioned, there's a two-sided marketplace. That's what really makes Lyft and Uber special today. And one of the sides of the marketplace is under some pressure right now. That's what we're talking about, the driver side of this. But if we eliminate the driver side, then you simply have a marketplace of trying to get, or not even a marketplace, just trying to get consumers to ride. That opens up new competitors. There's about 6 of them that are trying to get there. And to answer your question, Karen, I think that option, the autonomy option, is a better option for Lyft and Uber than what they currently have with humans driving. I think for an investor, it's a better option, more profitable, but ultimately it will attract other competition. I think the two best companies positioned within that would be like Google and their Waymo initiatives, and also Tesla and how they're going to kind of vector into the ride-hailing market.
Gene Munster, Loop Ventures. Gene, always a pleasure to get your take there as well. A lot of questions around these companies. They did rally today, though. Gene, thank you very much.